Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we are delighted to have John Lee on the show. John is an expert at one of our favorite commodities, silver. John made his first bet on silver over 20 years ago when silver was only $4 an ounce. Today, it's 23. That's almost a 6x move. He rode that wave and then liked silver so much, in 2010, he founded Silver Elephant Mining, a silver, lead, and zinc mine down in Bolivia. We're very happy to have John here today so we can pick his brain. John, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for the invite for the first time. But thank you for the introduction too. A blink of an eye is 23 years later.
You worked, what is it? You worked 23 years to be an overnight success, right? Go ahead and give us a couple minutes of your story, how you got into silver and how that led to where you are now.
Well, Stephen, like you had referenced, I have over 20 years of experience in the mining industry. In the first 10 years as an individual accredited investor, I semi-retired from the Silicon Valley, having spent 5 years there. Year 2000, I retired and moved to Vancouver with my girlfriend at the time, and then somehow sort of stumbled onto the mining industry and followed the works of James Turk and become a very good friend of David Morgan, and just got involved in the industry in 2000, and then in the latter 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, I found a silver elephant. Really kind of started as a hobby and turned into a triple full-time job for 14 years. Elephant used to be called Prophecy. We raised well over $150 million through the Toronto Stock Exchange and traveled over 40 countries and did a bunch of M&As. My specialization, Steve, as you said, is silver and to some extent nickel. And here we are running a flagship project in Bolivia, and has some good news to tell as well.
Yeah. What is your kind of macro view of the economy, and how does that tie into the silver market?
That's an intriguing question. The thoughts change by the day. Stephen, I'd have thought to the surprise, I think the pandemic and just what's going on with the world turned upside down really sort of put my studies and the fundamentals and just different thoughts back onto the drawing table. The market, there's a detachment of what they call the economy versus what the equity markets are telling us. I mean, even though I've traveled the world 3 times and seeing there's a definite cool down of the economies, but yet you have the S&P, the Dow, particularly in NASDAQ, that's almost challenging of all-time high territory, and that's in spite of a rising interest rates. So there's this is an interesting dichotomy, and then yet you're looking at, even though the equity markets are telling us that everything's fine and dandy, but yet you have base metals are in a bear market territory from copper to oil and to all of the PGM metals, which is somewhat related to the auto sector. The airline sector has also had a big correction since August, and yet the NASDAQ is charging all-time highs. I think there's a lot of different. Definitely the markets are sort of telling us different sets of story, and even within commodity space, there is also a sort of a segregation and different segments of how they're performing, right? Of precious metal versus base metal. Difficult to tell. The jury's still out, but the sector I'm most bullish of right now is gold and silver.
Yeah, when people become concerned about the purchasing power of their currency, they typically run to precious metals. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Our viewers love it when we bring up the charts. I'm going to bring up gold right here. I think you and I kind of agree in that we could see this triple top right here, right? That's just happened in the last few years. 1, 2, and each one of them you could call a war premium, I guess. And we just hit on this one earlier this year. Do you think there's going to be a fourth and down, or are you in the camp that we're blowing through this?
Yeah, Stephen, going back to the fundamentals of gold, I don't buy it so much about inflation. I was in Japan. I don't see a lot of inflation there. But rather, the reason for gold, for this major run coming up, is two factors. One is the central bank diversification. You have the Japanese, you have the Chinese, you have the Russians, you have the Saudis. they're not the best of terms with the United States right now, and they collectively hold a couple of $1 trillion. So it wouldn't take a lot to break the bank per se.
Yeah.
And the second one is the mandate of the digital currency, which spells for micro mandates of what you can buy, when you can buy, and what you can buy. And a lot of people won't like it. And the way to get out of that system is to own physicals. I think these are the two primary reasons for driving gold forward. Now, in answer to your question, you can see that it first challenged 2020, and that's the height of the pandemic. So it's a fear trade.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, you have a 2022, another sort of spike up. I think that's more to do with the stimulus and the different the stimulus that's coming on stream, and this is the different reflationary policies. And now you have the third one that's coming. Is more, like I said, it's a gold ought to be trending down because of rising interest rates, because but it's not. So I see this trend going forward because those two aforementioned reasons that I mentioned. If you look at the gap between each challenge to the major all-time resistance, that the gap is shortening, first of all.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the time for the correction phase, right? It's more violent on the downside because somewhat the prices are managed, but you can see a very, very fast rebound back to challenge its all-time high. So long as gold stays over 1940, which is now the 200-day moving resistance, we have a very good shot at taking out the $2,000 all-time resistance level. I would say before Christmas, or definitely before March of 2024. And that has been my forecast since late 2022 and the different various interviews I have come on throughout this year. Now, we didn't really get the bang in September as we usually do, but still, the market managed to come back with the vengeance for gold in the last couple of weeks. And like I said, I think so long, fingers crossed, gold stays above 200-day moving average in 1940. Also, the dollar right now is close to 106. I think it's near the top for the dollar.
Dollar's right here. This is around 105, 106. Yeah.
The headwinds are almost over for gold. We could be looking at something very historic in the next weeks and months to come, Steve.
Yeah. Here's the purple line right here is the 200-day moving average. I agree with you. We had a nice bounce right off of that. I think we're hitting all-time highs here in the next 6 months or so. I agree.
Yes.
Okay, looking at silver here. Now, to put this into perspective, I'm going to go out on the weekly chart. And John, your foresight, you got into it like there. Well done, sir. What do you see for silver in the near future?
I am most bullish of silver over gold for a couple of reasons. Historically, the gold to silver ratio is around 70. Right now, it's close to 90. And then secondly, silver has that industrial and investment elements to it. So that's why silver did not correct as badly as, say, copper or oil, because it's got the investment demand.
Yeah.
But as NASDAQ and Dow, S&P start challenging its all-time high, or potentially even taking out of this all-time high, in the case of NASDAQ, the greed trade is going to come back to the market. And the difference between gold and silver, I always call gold as the fear trade and the silver as the greed trade. So since the equity market taking out an all-time high, some of the profits going to be taken out, taken out of the market, and they're looking for a new place to go, and silver would be it. So right now, basically, you're looking at silver as a very good hedged bets. You're still riding on that monetary investment demand, but also in case the economy reflates and the equities are challenging all-time high, and if the dollar were to make a bit of a consolidation, then silver is the best beneficiary for new investments to come, even over gold, in my view.
Yeah, it's definitely a leveraged bet on it, which is one of the reasons we love it so much. Okay, let's move on to Silver Elephant, your company. What is your guys' cash position and your market cap?
Yeah, we've been hunkering down right now. The market cap is $10 million Canadian, which is somewhat unfathomable given not only 3 years ago when, Stephen, you saw the chart that, the gold first challenged 2000 at July 2020, and silver was $14, went to 30 in a jiffy in less than 2.5 weeks, and Elephant's market cap was close to 100. Now we're at 10 million. we've been hunkering down. We really minimize our dilution and financing. Current cash position is just under $1 million, and that money is coming from a recent transaction, a joint venture the company did sign on with the Andean Precious Metals. So as we're speaking right now, the mine is in production. In that there's excavating, digging very high oxide grade ore and trucking it to a nearby plant that belongs to and operated by our partner Andean Precious Metals.
That's cool. Yeah, you guys just did your first shipment. Congratulations. What was it? 4,500 tons, average of like 250 grams per ton. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. And what's your recovery rate on that?
The recoveries are consistently in the 80 plus, 90 percentage plus range. So
Okay.
Andean and Silver Elephant have been talking for actually a number of years, but we just never see eye to eye in terms of valuation. So since then, Andean has come down 70, 80% from their peak market cap, and Elephant's come down 90%. So we're able to get a beneficial deal done on both parties in that Silver Elephant getting $5 million US in the next 18 months. And Andean in turn is getting all the oxide that can take out of the ground, which constitutes 6% of the project. And not just the top oxide layer. I mean, the jewel for Pulacayo, which has 100 million ounces in the ground, is in that sulfide ore body, of which we just actually made a news release yesterday that we will be looking into expediting and accelerating the development of the sulfide phase potentially in the early 2024. So it's very exciting development, and right now couldn't speak for a better entry point, Steve.
Nice. What do you estimate as your all-in sustaining cost for silver equivalent ounces?
We don't have that figure. And
they haven't run it through the plant yet to find out, huh?
You know what? Yeah, Stephen, I venture to say that that certainly would not recover capital expenditure. I mean, I don't think any mining company is making money right now. First Majestic was in the red, Sandstorm was in the red. Not a mining company is making money, especially in silver, because it hasn't caught up with the inflation. We are not processing the metals in our own plant. So the only cost to us is really the cost of excavating and transportation to the processing facility, of which Andean is paying for both of that for us. So I probably venture to say that we're probably the only company that's mining our project that's making money, because we're guaranteed the $5 million so long as the operation continues without interruption. Steve, I think more important to the point, there are two things I want to bring up. I think first of all, the grades are being mined in the last 2 weeks of 4,500 tons at close to 250 grams, and that is very consistent with the resource model that we have published of about 236 grams. So that just speaks. I think that is a good verification. And just check some of our model is actually on the conservative side. And then the other thing, Steve, is speak for our long-standing good relationship with the local community. I mean, in 6 short weeks, we were able to go from signing of a contract to actually moving trucks. So that speaks for the confidence and the trust that the local community and the government has towards a Silver Elephant as a company in blessing and providing that go-ahead for us in such an expedited manner.
Okay. I was going to ask about the team you built. Maybe tell us first about the local community. What's it like there? Is it a fishing town? What is it?
The name of the town is Pulacayo, and the name of the project is Pulacayo. It's a second largest silver mine based on historical production, actually, if you just search for based on historical context. And it was the silver from Pulacayo that commissioned the railway to Antofagasta, and the silver that shipped to Spain to help the Spaniards conquer the civilization 200 years ago. We have an excellent community relationship with Pulacayo. It's a mining heritage community. Their parents are miners. Their grandparents are miners. They don't have agriculture. They don't have a farming community, and they couldn't ask us to get started fast enough. We do have a very good skilled workforce there, and there's immediate access to power and water and good infrastructure. And like I said, these positive attributes were the reason that we're able to commission the mine very quickly, and that to have Andean Precious Metal do their due diligence and write a multi-million-dollar check to us even before the first shovel were taken out of the ground.
That's good. It's a real bonus when you're in a mining community. Okay, tell us about the team you've built around Silver Elephant. Who do you have leading the charge?
Yeah, I mean, thanks, real quick. I mean, Stephen, 4,500 tons. I'm trying to do the calculation, right? At 7 grams, I mean, you're looking at 30,000 ounces moved in just 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
my
at this
math was
rate,
32, but we're in the same ballpark.
yeah,
Yeah.
at this run rate, we could contribute quite significantly to Indian precious metals, and they're doing about 4 million ounces a year. We could potentially add up to 20-25%. So these are not sort of minuscule pilot sort of production. These are meaningful production. I don't think it speaks for many silver mining companies that are doing 1 million ounces a year, pure silver. Probably can count it with two hands. So as we commission the sulfide at the start of the next year at a similar throughput, we could be looking at multi-million ounce production out of Pulacayo, and it's still a very stealthy mode at only 10 million ounces a year. And now talk about our operation. Stephen, I don't have the luxury. I'm coming in really as an outsider. It took me a few years to figure out who are there sort of for free ride and versus who are there really to know that they're doing who know what they're doing. So the company is led by Chief Operating Officer Rob Van Drunen. He's actually in Bolivia, arrived yesterday. He's a 30-year veteran, used to work for Vale Inco in Manitoba, he's also the CEO of our sister company, Fly Nickel. But he loves the silver project. He's been there 3 times in the last year and a half, and he's there commissioning the project. And he started out himself as a miner and underground open pit running a factory. So he's a very, very hands-on guy. We also have Ron Espel, who's our VP of operation. And Ron is a career permitting guru. And he actually just permitted our another sister project, the Vanadium project in Nevada, where the record of decisions issued from the Bureau of Land Management. And that's probably, again, only a handful of these projects getting commissioned and green lighted under the Biden administration. Myself has raised over $150 million in market. My forte is M&A. And so we do have, and we also brought on the legal talent and financial talents, both of which each has over 20, 30 years in the mining industry. All in all, we have the operation experience, and we have the permitting, community relationship, we have good finance team, and we have a good legal team that can really put the project, bring the project into production to the next level. However, at the same time, keeping our eyes open for any potential mergers acquisition opportunities. Stephen, Bolivia right now in this region is in the epicenter of a major mining booming district right now.
Okay, what political risks come with the biggest risk to any miner is the government, because governments do what they do best and they steal. What are the political risks specifically in Bolivia?
Stephen, we are comfortable. Silver Elephant is comfortable in doing business in Bolivia. I actually first arrived in Bolivia in 2006 as an investor, before Evo Morales, the socialist government, came on. Despite of the rhetorics, I think there's the rhetorics and then there's the reality. Bolivia is actually one of the most stable South American country in South America. It has a very consistent GDP growth at around 5%. Its currency is pegged to the dollar. It's very stable. And under Morales, in the last 17 years since I've been in Bolivia, I've seen a transformation of their economies. Their infrastructure in many ways are actually better than Peru. I think, Stephen, having acquired many projects around the world, when you talk about political risk, you got to really be looking at a community level. I mean, government all in large usually are pretty hands-off on the expropriation of assets. It's only when the communities are not happy, or when you have the NGOs that sort of started coming in and interfering with the local, with sort of the operation, and then things get, and if the management are not hands-on, then they sort of get escalated onto the federal level. I mean, when you have people getting killed or protests at the local level, right? The government has to take sides, and there's only one side to take, and that's why you're seeing a lot of issues running in Mexico right now, because the ejidos of the local community. So I'm pleased to say that I think Pulacayo is being seen as an envy in doing business in Bolivia, because we have a homogeneous community relations in Pulacayo. We're not going into a situation where there have communities infighting already, and you're kind of sandwiched or wedged in between. We don't have those issues, and we don't have any farmers or herders, and it's really the best of all worlds. And Bolivia in the last 7-8 years has seen over $500 million investment through the Toronto Stock Exchange. You have the majors like Trafigura, Glencore. You have Pan American Silver. You have Pan Pacific. You have companies collectively over billions of market cap operating in the region right now. So even though there's still some rhetorics and remnants of some of the misdeeds that happened taking place 10 years ago, but I would say this is one of the sort of hidden treasure. And much welcome sort of your audience to look into and do a bit more further due diligence and talk to the companies like Silver Elephant to find out what's really happening in the ground.
Okay. So what is how are you going to make investors money with Silver Elephant over the next 18 to 24 months?
Stephen, first of all, I just want to assure investors, the shareholders that following our story that there's not another shoe to drop. I think a lot of our peers are experiencing very high, big difficulties. Some of them went under, some of them cannot cut their production, even though they're losing money and community support because they have made commitments to the local community, and then they're being covered by research analysts, not based on the cash flow that they produce, but based on the production that they are putting out, churning out, and it's a burning match, and they're depleting their reserve and pushing back capital expenditure in the future, which only means rising costs as they go on. So first of all, Stephen, we don't have any of those problems. There's not another shoe to drop. And secondly, the company is watching our treasury carefully, and with the payments to be issued by Andean Precious Metals, we don't anticipate any financing of any significance coming on the horizon. So the way I look at it is to continue to de-risk the project, to prove that we have support from local community, to show that the project can churn silver ounces out of the ground and making our partners successful. Commission the sulfide project so that we have the leverage to the silver price, because right now all the oxide leverage goes to Andean Precious Metals. And in the end, Stephen, as you know, silver companies are not valued for their cash flow, right? They're being valued based on the optionality of the silver in the ground. So, I think that if silver to break out at $25, which I believe it will within the next 3 to 6 months, as soon as gold definitively breaks out to 2,000, I have a very strong conviction that Silver Elephant is going to be seen as one of those companies that has already demonstrated itself to be able to get the silver out of the ground with grades that are matching what they are in the technical reports, have local community support, and that is able to scale up the project as the investments and the passion and the interest in the silver mining industry returns.
That's one of our favorite things about silver miners is they're so leveraged to the silver price. A move of a dollar when you're holding the coins is nothing, but if your all-in sustaining cost is 22 and you're mining it at 23 and it goes up to 24, your revenue just went up 100%.
Yes, exactly. And you know what, Stephen, you're right. If you look at collectively silver mining companies as a whole, if you're to take out, it's also unfortunate, like the likes of First Majestic and Fortuna Silver or Coeur d'Alene that have really branched out into the gold space. So I think Silver Elephant is one of the very few, probably a handful with your two hands, that has 100 million ounces in the ground, that has a bit of production history, being green lighted by the communities. And the collective market cap is probably a couple $1 billion. It's a drop in the bucket in terms of in sort of the overall investable dollars in the commodity space or even in the whole sort of investment realm per se. So things can turn on a dime very, very quickly. And right now it really presents an incredible opportunity as an entry point. We're going to see some very spectacular fireworks in the weeks and in the next couple of months to come. That's my I've been saying it since this time last year, when gold was 1960 last year, this time last year, when I said a $2,000 target, people laughed at me. And we're going to take out $2,000 with ease in the next 3 months. And silver is going to challenge $28 in a hurry, Steve.
I think so too. I think 28's that key kind of resistance level. There's a lot of resistance built up technically on the charts around $28. And once we can punch through that, I think we're off to the races. It's pretty quickly going to 50 beyond that. Okay, I want to talk about your coal deposit you guys have in Mongolia. How do I pronounce this? Butu
Bulanovu.
bituminous. It's basically a thermal coal. You got 200 million tons. It's fully permitted. Last year, you cash flowed $500,000. You didn't put it into production just yet because when we go to the coal prices here, we had a pretty incredible run up in coal, and then it's since corrected back down. So are you kind of waiting to see how coal irons out before you open that one up? Tell us about your Mongolian coal deposit.
Stephen, you talked about the $28 level. It's been heavily managed. It is a break. It's the make or break. So they are throwing the kitchen sink right now at silver and at gold. That's why you saw in October 1st a big dip, a violent dip. That was the China Golden Week. So they're taking advantage, crashing the paper market because the physical market was asleep in the first week of October. So I think that, like you said, exactly, I concur with you 100%. Once the $28 is overcome and the $2,000 is overcome, that is when the hell is going to break loose, because that is the ultimate historical, millennial challenge. I mean, that is a holy grail, the mother of all, and we're gonna live to tell it, Steve. So it's going to be truly exciting. Now on the coal, it's a fully permitted project. It's at the back burner. It's a legacy project, the Silver Elephant. Nobody wanted it, so it's just sitting there at the back burner. We didn't spin that project out because nobody wanted it in early 2022. And so we caught the tailwind of the huge rise in late 2022, and we shipped like around 30,000 tons of coal. We made $500,000 in cash. So I mean, we have 200. I mean, that was merely scraping the surface. I think we made that 20,000 tons in like 2 weeks. So that speaks to the potential, the leverage of that coal project. Right now it's on standby because coal has come back down. My thoughts are not to make the coal as a distraction in the market. I think silver is prime, whereas coal is benchmarked to oil price, of which I'm not so sure about, because we've got a bit of a demand destruction right now. So I'm not so sure about the oil price. Therefore, I'm not so sure about the coal price. And even if coal price rebound, which is go and dispatch a couple of excavator and put it on the rail and get it to China, it's not a difficult exercise. However, right now we're singly focused in commissioning and making sure our partner, Indian Metal, Precious Metal, is successful. And then secondly is to get our sulfide operation started in 2024, so that we have the upside leverage to the silver price, Steve.
Okay. And what is the biggest unanswered question of silver elephant mining?
Steve, I regularly talk to our peers, and they have some issues, right? Permitting or downsizing of which they couldn't do. The company doesn't really have any. I don't see any issues. I think it's just about hunkering down, making sure we maintain our existing relationship, making sure we grind it out. Now we're really in the engineering commissioning phase of the project, because we have done our homework in our modeling the project, in logistics, in working closely with our partners, and we're reasonably capitalized to pursue our endeavors, and we don't require extensive capital expenditures to build the mine because the plan is a toll milling arrangement. So I don't see any issues that's within our control that would be showstoppers. Obviously, if silver prices were to rebound and a bit of a renewed interest in the mining sector, that would be great. And I'll just say that, Steve, we got a bit of a rep, right? We got a lot of sour investors because they come in at the top of 100 million. Now they lost 90% of their money. I would just say, it's been 13 years. It's been a very humbling experience. And if you see sort of the stable of our projects, they're all permitting stage, advanced stage. So that really speaks to the effort that we are putting in the ground. So despite all the noises out there, name calling or disgruntled or whatever they are, I think the facts speak for themselves. And over the weeks and months to come, we're gonna hopefully deliver on time of our promises under budget, Steve. And that is continue to supply oxide materials to NDM, make them successful, and then get our sulfide operation started. And then, at the grade similar to our resource model. And then eventually, Steve, who knows? If silver is over $28, we can get another partner to build a plant at Pulacayo, of which then we're gonna extract higher margin from the operation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, John, and thank you for your sponsorship. If you want to look up Silver Elephant Mining, on the TSX, it's ELEF. Over the counter, it's SILEF. John, if our viewers want to get a hold of you and learn more about your project, how can they do that?
I am very active on Twitter. I'm a chartered financial analyst. I've done probably well over a couple hundred interviews and authored well over 1,000 articles. Look me up at Twitter. Just search Silver Elephant John Lee. You can get hold of me at jlee@silverelef.com or visit our website at silverelef.com.
Okay, we will put all of the links down there in the show notes. John, thank you again. And thank you for tuning in. Support the show, hit the like and subscribe, and we will talk to you next time.